Something happened yesterday that is much bigger than what it looks like on surface level. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner _ follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen. Free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. So something happened yesterday that may look like nothing. It may look like run-of-the-mill star player comes in and gets what he wants. But it's bigger than that. This is something that I am not glorifying. This is not me speaking in platitudes. This is not me looking at the cherry sweet side of the street instead of what's really going on. This is something that's more visceral. This is something that is not normal in the place of the Arizona Cardinals. This is something that's showing that what Monti Ossenfort is building is starting to work. And it's not the end-all, be-all. Everything is going to be great forever. It's not anything like that. But it's something that needs to be discussed for 8 minutes or so, and that's what I'm going to do it. Rookie numbers are out. We'll talk about that for a segment. Just got to do it. It'll be fun. And then Pro Football Network put out this trade proposal, pretty much saying, should the Dallas Cowboys give up a 6th-round pick for James Conner? Shut up. I'm going to talk about in the final segment, though. More about James Conner as a 29-year-old and how important he is to this team, regardless of his age. And I know that I get a lot of pushback with that. And I don't wear that as a Medal of Honor like other people. Oh, people are going to hate me for saying this. No, stop it. But I do get a lot of pushback on James Conner. Like, oh, they shouldn't pay him after this year. All these things. Do you see what James Conner's done since he's come here? He's been the most on the field, while on the field, the most efficient player for the Cardinals on offense. So, yeah, anyways, we'll talk about that in the final segment. I really wish I didn't have to, but when people put out, slop like that, I've got to discuss it. BJ Ojulari is reported to be giving up his number 18 to Marvin Harrison Jr. when Marvin Harrison Jr. joins the team. And while, as I mentioned 42 seconds ago, over under, give or take, it seems like, well, it's a second-year player who doesn't have superstar status that Marvin Harrison Jr. does, giving his number, and probably Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to pay him and maybe donate it to charity or, whatever it is, and then off to the races. That's a lot of comments I got on Twitter yesterday. And that's fine, because the majority of time, that's what it is. And that's been going back since the beginning of, stars getting numbers from players who aren't stars, whether it be after they're being drafted or teams, free agents going, whatever it is. But I was brought, to the light regarding what number 18 meant to an LSU Tiger. BJ Ojulari drafted out of the 2nd round by the Cardinals from LSU last year. What number 18 and number 7 mean to an LSU Tiger is more than just a number. And BJ Ojulari wore number 18 in college, took that. It's kind of a rudimentary number, right, for a pass rusher, even though now there's no real rules because you can wear single-digit numbers for, any player can. But it meant a lot to him. What does number 18 mean to an LSU Tiger and to the to the organization or whatever, the college itself, pertaining to a football player? Caroline Fenton from Locked On LSU joined me last year, about a year ago to the day. I think it was May 3rd, 2023. I had her on to talk about BJ Ojulari. I didn't know this about those numbers. I had no idea. And she went on this incredible 3-minute jaunt about BJ Ojulari. And I clipped the part where she talks just about what 18 means. Here it is. Check it out.
So at LSU, there's two numbers that mean something. The first one is number 7, and that goes to the best player, period. Tyrann Mathieu wore number 7. Leonard Fournette wore number 7. So just the best player on the field. Number 18 goes to that guy who's just as good on the field as he is in the locker room. He is a leader. He personifies the values and the traits and the pillars of LSU football. It goes to the guy that loves the team, that loves LSU, basically like the moral leader of the team, that guy that if you're down 14 at half, he's going to come in, get the whole team rallied around him. And B.J. Ojulari wore number 18. And he is exactly the kind of player. He is your prototypical number 18. It's not necessarily the best player on the field, but it goes to the guy that you look at and you say, that is LSU football personified.
So when you look at what Caroline, first of all, thanks, Caroline. Again, great stuff. Check her out at, Locked On LSU at Caroline Fenton, at Caroline Fenton 1 on Twitter. It's an everything guy on and off the field. Like, not necessarily the heartbeat of the team, but a guy who is integral in every fiber, whether it be on the field, off the field, or anywhere in between. That's what 18 means. He wore that with pride, and he took that to the NFL because he wanted to be that for the Arizona Cardinals also. So this isn't like donating a kidney. Like, this isn't some, magnanimous, huge gift that he's giving to Marvin Harrison Jr. in the, more human sense outside of football. But this is a big deal. 18 means something. And it doesn't matter if he got something or not to give that number up. This shows what kind of person he is. And this is the time in the podcast when I'm going to get comments saying, you're making too big of a deal about this. This was a transactional thing. This has nothing to do with the culture, and you're making it wrong. All of that is wrong. All of that is wrong. This shows team over self. And sure, the Cardinals have had those guys, forever. They've had guys that are team over self. But it's different now. It's different. And, the people who have been Cardinals fans for 40 years that are set in their ways and thinking it'll never be different, that's fine. I've given up trying to change your mind. But a little act like this. Second-year player going into the league wearing that number as a badge of honor that he earned during his college days. Giving it to a guy who has never played down in the NFL, assuming they're not best friends, but understands what that means to the other player as well. Team over self. It's just a number, but not to B.J. Ojulari. And I think that after seeing that, I was kind of surprised. I was almost, I think J.W. Hunt, wore number 88 for the Arizona Cardinals. I was like, why not ask the family bring it out of the rafters, just like the other family did for J.J. Watt 99? Where's dad's number? Which may happen. I mean, who knows? But hopefully we'll hear the story of how this came to be. If B.J. Ojulari called Marvin Harrison Jr., be like, hey, man, it's yours. I don't know. But I think it shows more weight than just a second-year player giving a rookie his number off his back, especially with the history of number 18 with the LSU Tigers. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Other rookie numbers are out. There's two really cool ones. There's some cool ones. Most are like right in that middle ground where it's like, take them or leave them. And then most are just ugly, and some are just ugly numbers. I think we've skated the ugly number portion. There's a couple super sexy number choices that I'm excited to discuss. That and more next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. It's winner take all in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. That's me. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. Turn notifications on. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Are you watching Fox Sports and ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I don't know. I don't think I'm making too big of a deal out of this. And it's not, it's going to be one conversation. That's it. That last segment was the conversation. I just think that it's just good vibes. It's just, I've mentioned a couple times, and I think my dad told me this first. He goes, do good things and good things will happen. Do things the right way, and good things will happen. And I think that's what we're starting to see since Monti Ossenfort took over. Nothing crazy. The trade back and trade up was, it served its purpose. They got a future first that turned into Darius Robinson. They got their offensive lineman for the future. They got, they got the second round pick that they packaged to move back up to 6 from Houston so they could keep their own last year and draft BJ Ojulari after trading back and picking up an extra pick. You play the right way last year, don't win a whole bunch of games, but, you're fusing this together in an effort to move things forward in a positive direction. Sign a couple pieces this offseason, draft well, and now you're in a position over this year and, most likely next year to really jump back in to the relevancy conversation, which is a pretty quick turnaround for a team that was, dropped down to the studs after Steve Keim and Cliff Kingsbury were removed from post. So another thing, just with BJ Ojulari, just another thing. Just this is what functionality looks like. You got to give him credit, in my opinion. You got to give BJ Ojulari credit for how much that number meant to him. And Marvin Harrison Jr. will now be wearing it on game day for the Cardinals. Other rookie numbers. So again, we all know, the conversations, and I hope this isn't just me. I don't edit these videos. I can. I just choose not to. I like to show my real self instead of just, if I misspell or, misspeak a word, I'll just, make fun of myself and move on. The conversations where it's like Friday is red or whatever it is. And people are like, Thursday is green for sure. You've seen them all over. And it's like, this is kind of a way to tie most humans together where it's like, I've thought about that too. I thought I was the only one. We're all crazy together, I think it's kind of the same with numbers, where numbers aren't colors, but some numbers are sexy and some are and then some are And I think that aside from personal taste, where it's like, well, I wore that number growing up, so that's my number. 44 has been my number forever. It's not the sexiest number. It's kind of in that middle ground. 33 is a sexy number to me. 56 is a sexy number to me. There are just certain numbers in football where it's like, oh, he's going to look really good in that uniform. So with that, here are the numbers for the running for the rookies going into the season. So Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to wear 18. Darius Robinson's wearing 56. Corner Max Melton 16. Tip Ryman 87. Zach Ertz's old number. Tawan Palmer is going to wear 83. Offensive lineman Christian Jones is going to wear 75. Isaiah Adams is going to wear 74. DJ Humphrey's old number. Edge rusher Xavier Thomas 54. Sexy number. 54 for an edge rusher. Sexy number. Dadrian Taylor Demerson. I'm going to get to him in just a second. A defensive back Jaden Davis 39. And then running back Trey Benson 33. Sexy number. He wore 3 in college. 33 was Antonio Hamilton's number for the last couple seasons. 33 for a running back is a sexy number, in my opinion. So the Cardinals' sexy number quotient to number quotient teeter into the sexy side. It's a beautiful thing. Now, one for me that is, I'm going to take, the next 4 or 5 minutes. I wasn't expecting to do this, but because of the number that I saw, it's I just had to do it, and I want to do it. Dadrian Taylor Demerson is going to be wearing number 42, and that is a number that is near and dear to my heart. For those that don't know this, I was given my start in sports radio in 2010 when a mutual friend introduced me to this man, Kwame Lassiter, who played with the Cardinals for a handful of years, and he wore number 42. And Kwame took a chance on me on his radio show. One day I met him, and then the next week he had me come in to, quote-unquote, listen to the show, and within 5 minutes he threw me on, put a mic in my face, and said, let's go. No experience, love sports, had just graduated college and wanted to be in sports radio. And Kwame put me on his show for, I think it was about 4 years before we parted ways. And that was that was the catalyst for everything. And I've been in, sports media in Arizona for, 13 years now. So whenever I see number 42, obviously it always makes me think of him. He is, passed away a couple years ago. Without him, I wouldn't be here, most likely. So that is a huge tip of the cap to Kwame, who, he taught me about football. You don't really – I was a basketball guy. Grew up playing basketball, all the jersey numbers, all everything. And, I liked football, but I grew up in LA and there wasn't a football team when I was there pretty much. When I was like the Rams were gone and the Raiders were up north. And, when I first, when I was old enough to know football, like no team was there. And I didn't really have team, didn't really watch football a whole lot. And then, I watched it as a casual fan. And then when I joined the show with him, really started to teach me about football. And again, that's the best, classroom I could be in ever. He's a very well-respected guy in the Valley, very philanthropic, has his charity still to this day that I believe his wife runs. So when I see his number being used again by a rookie, and a DB at that, I can't help but, think about him and, thank him, even though he's no longer here, for giving me the platform to be able to, to learn and to grow and to eventually be able to, work in several radio stations in Phoenix, and then now, landing this gig as of 2017. So wearing number 42 is a big deal to me personally, and I'm glad that his lineage will live on here in the Valley with the Arizona Cardinals. Alex Clancy, Locked on Cardinals, Pro Football Network. We'll talk about it next. This episode of Locked on Cardinals is brought to you by Monopoly Go. All right, game off. We're going to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying, flag on the play. You already talked about that, which I do every day, and I love it. But there's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults, and more. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasures or a robot pachinko machine, and there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. Alex Clancy here. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to talk about Kwame like this. So, welcome to my life. For those who didn't know that, Kwame was a massive, massive influence on me. And I'm glad to see his number 42 has continued to be worn by the Arizona Cardinals, and who's set to be potentially a huge impact maker in Dadrian Taylor Demerson, who is looked at as an absolute steal by many. Stoked to see him and Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson in the same room. Not many better mentors for the rookie than Jalen Thompson and Budda Baker. It's gonna be fantastic. It's gonna be fantastic. Pro Football Network put out a trade proposal: James Conner for a 6th-round pick to Dallas. And this is something that you can't really get mad at because the Cardinals have been irrelevant. People see James Conner as an RB1 in fantasy football. I think he's probably fringe RB1 when he's healthy. He was a touchdown machine in 2021, and he's a guy who gets, good yards per carry. He has a nose for the end zone. I've discussed this during my entire, radio career, is there are certain running backs that just have a nose for the end zone and some that don't. And it's very clear those who do and those who don't. Like, say what you want about Ezekiel Elliott, nose for the end zone, can get in. Kenyon Drake, not so much. Latavius Murray, nose for the end zone. James Conner, nose for the end zone. They know how to get in. It's just this thing. It doesn't really have to do with you have to be, your size or your speed or your shoulder strength or your leg strength, whatever it is. Some guys get in, some guys don't as much as they should. It's just a thing. James Conner can. So what people see on the outside is, oh, good player, trade him, take him, put him on our team. It's like, shut up. James Conner is so much more important to the Arizona Cardinals than just the touchdowns he scores. He's the metronome. He was the metronome for the offense last year with Kyler Murray out. He is a set and forget running back at 29 who now has a young rookie who can take some of the weight off his shoulders. And I will continue to say this. I've said this for 3 seasons now. And this is going to be the point where it's actually going to be implemented as such, I would think, in some capacity. This is the time where James Conner becomes the LeGarrette Blount role. For those that are too young and doesn't remember LeGarrette Blount, this is LeGarrette Blount in a nutshell. And I know he won. I think he won a ring in Philly the year after he won a ring in New England, and he bounced around after that. But what I remember LeGarrette Blount doing is whenever the Patriots had a lead in the fourth quarter, he would touch the ball 10 to 15 times. In the fourth quarter, 3 yards, milk clock, 4 yards, milk clock, first down, milk clock. Because the best defense against opposing quarterbacks, especially the bevy of star quarterbacks the Cardinals are going to be playing this year, a good run game that keeps their asses on the sidelines. So if this is going to be a run-first offense, James Conner is going to be the 1A, and you hope that Trey Benson moves into that 1B role where you can give Trey Benson the lion's share of the touches in the middle of the game and just have James Conner eat inside the red zone and when they need yards, when they need to milk clock. The LeGarrette Blount role is something that very few teams have right now. And there's very few things that are more infuriating to opposing teams who need the ball back than a team with a running back who can get first downs in crunch time that will allow them to continue to milk the clock. And when you have an offensive line upgrade like the Cardinals have made over the last 2 seasons, there's never been a better time than now to implement James Conner in that such role. Maybe it's not entirely this year, but moving forward when there's no guaranteed money after this season, I don't see a world where the Cardinals don't give him another 2-year deal with $8 million guaranteed to keep him in the valley. It is going to be paramount to be able to have a running back like that, unless Trey Benson absolutely goes scorched earth all world this year. James Conner needs to be on this roster, and I still would think that it would make it easier for him to move into that backup role because he is so important to this team in the locker room, off the field. He was a leader of this team for a large portion of the season with Kyler Murray out. He was the guy. He's the heart Him and Budda Baker. So to think that you could flip him for a 6th round pick just because he's 29 years old is just lazy. It's lazy. And it's rationalized because the Cardinals have been irrelevant. So I don't fault the writer for this. It's not a direct attack. I don't do that. It's not what you do. Because the Cardinals deserve that type of prognostication. They haven't been relevant. I think everybody will see this year how important James Conner is to this team when the Cardinals are scoring more points than their opponents, far more than they were last year, coupled with the pass attack that is set to be better than we've seen in a long time. This Arizona Cardinals offense is going to be good this year. And so that's it with that. And scene. I got a comment yesterday that I want to discuss. I got a no S Sherlock. This team needs more talent. So, first of all, anytime you want to swear at me, kudos. Number 2, I need to clarify, I guess. I need to make this even more crystal clear. The Cardinals need more talent on their roster this season if they don't want to only win 6 games. Because as the roster is currently constructed, I don't see this team winning 6 or 7 games, more than 6 or 7 games, unless the rookies just absolutely ball out. And if Max Melton, it becomes a CB1 with Garrett Williams and Elijah Jones just rolls in out of BC, and then the cornerback room is set with young corners who the game's not too fast for them. They're just ready to rock. And Darius Robinson's a 10-sack guy, and Isaiah Adams can move in, or Christian Jones can move into that left guard spot and solidify the left side. The trajectory is there. It's probably a year away for rookies because it's their rookie season, especially all of the rookies that are going to be poised to play meaningful snaps with now at least some expectations. So I should have clarified. If the Cardinals want to win more than 6 or 7 games this year, they need to add more veteran talent. Better? Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Without you, there is no me. Remember that. I'll talk to you tomorrow.